Are you tired of thinking about drinking, trying to control it, and ending up in the same loop? Welcome to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast, where high achieving women learn how to step out of the stop start cycle and build a life that feels calm, clear, and alcohol free on purpose. I'm your host, Lindsay, accredited sober coach and former high functioning drinker. After more than a decade of drinking every night while keeping up a big career and a life that looked fine from the outside, I rebuilt my identity from the inside out. Now I help women stop negotiating with themselves and trust their own decisions again. This isn't a podcast full of cliches or willpower pep talks. You're getting real conversations, lived experience coaching, and practical tools you can use inside your actual life, not perfect conditions. So take a breath. You're here because you're ready to feel good in your real life. So let's get started. Welcome back. I am beyond excited that I don't know, came up with this idea when I did for this episode because I am talking about alcohol and marriage today. And I'm going to be sharing a lot about my own personal journey here with this, a little bit about what I see happening with the women who I work with, but I'm really going to lean into my own personal story. So I hope that you are ready for it. This year is my and my husband's 10th wedding anniversary. It's not until October, but we are leaving right around the corner here to go to Sicily to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. And I just didn't want to wait until October. For various reasons, we decided to go in May. It really had me thinking about our honeymoon. So we went to Italy for our honeymoon and it was much different. And so that's what I'm going to get into today because 10 years ago, I was in a t-shirt dress on a private boat to Capri, really trying hard unsuccessfully to not throw up in the Mediterranean. It was also, on top of it being our honeymoon, it was also my husband's birthday. We were on, a boat heading to Capri for the day. Our honeymoon, we had joined with a company called Ciao Andiamo. I highly recommend. Max is amazing. And one of the days he rented a private boat for us and took us to Capri from Positano. Now, here's what I'm going to get into today before I dive into this specific day on my trip. What I want to highlight here is just the stark differences between what a trip with my husband used to look like, and this one in particular was special. It was our honeymoon versus where my head is at and what I'm thinking about going into our 10-year anniversary trip, because it's a lot different and our lives are a lot different now. Obviously, even if I had still been drinking, I think over the course of 10 years, it's safe to say our lives would be different regardless, but they are different now in the most positive way. And we became so much closer and just so much more predictable and reliable to one another through my journey without alcohol being a part of my life. And so I want to talk about that today. Now, from the outside, I had this high achieving life. You know this. You've been maybe listening to this podcast for a while. You know that I quit drinking in August of 2020. And I was 41 years old. And leading up to that time, I had an amazing job. I always made very good money. My husband, too. I had a beautiful marriage, but my drinking really created a lot of distance between my husband and I. And it made me kind of mean to him. I have it's meant to be funny, but it's actually not funny reel that I put out sometimes that says, I may not drink anymore, but at least I don't say mean shit to my husband. And that is very true. I would drink too much and get into sometimes big, stupid fights about nothing or about things that I had been allowing resentment to build up within me that I never spoke to him about because I would avoid those conversations with drinking. So many conversations that I avoided. And we're not even talking about major life things. We're talking about little things too. But when you avoid conversations like that, the resentment just builds and builds. And then when you're drinking, you kind of pop off on something. And it's like, oh my gosh. And I had a tendency to often go a little below the belt sometimes with those and say something kind of mean or cruel that I didn't mean. Like it was just awful. I would never talk like that under my normal, sober self. In reality, while I was very successful on the outside, I spent a lot of time on my couch drinking to avoid thinking about the things that didn't work out in my life the way I wanted them to. And it really created this distance between my husband and I. So I'm going to get into a little bit of that, but let's get back to this trip, okay? Because first of all, something that I hear all the time from women, and I experienced it too, is like, well, I have to drink if I'm going on vacation. I'm going to Italy. Obviously, I have to go to the vineyards and drink the wine. And I'm going to Europe. I have to drink wine in Europe, or I have to have the champagne in France. And it's like, okay, you are just conditioned to think that because that is what society and culture has told us that we have to do. So I want you to really challenge that. But this is not quite about that topic today. This is just really about alcohol and marriage, or, alcohol and relationships with the people that you love. I can think about all of the times where I was drinking and it didn't lead to my behavior being the way I wanted to behave. Like, there are far many more of those examples than there are I just had one glass of wine at dinner and then came home and moved on with my life. When we were on our honeymoon, we went to Italy, and this time we're going to Sicily, but we were there for, 10 days or so. And I drank every single one of those days because first, I'm on my honeymoon. Like, we very much associate alcohol with celebration. And this is also just a little reminder. This is why it takes so much time and effort and trying to quit drinking, because alcohol touches every layer of our lives. And this one is no different. So when I say every layer, if you look at sort of an umbrella of this, we look at the layers as maybe when we feel sad, when we feel stressed, when we are celebrating, when we're mourning. So there's that kind of high. But then when you get into the nitty gritty of that, it's like, okay, well, when I go on vacation, well, now let's also tack on to that it's my honeymoon. So that like makes it extra special. Now let's tack on that I'm going to Italy and there's certain things that I want from that standpoint. And so now, I'm in Europe, I'm on this vacation, and there's vineyards and there's this and there's that. How does that actually play out when you drink every single day? You're not going to wake up every day feeling your best, ready to go do all of the things that you said that you're going to do on your trip. I'm going to share a few examples of some things that happened on my honeymoon and how, with alcohol being out of the picture, these types of things don't happen anymore. The primary example that I've shared before, but it's been a while. We had a day trip to Capri. I'm going to set a familiar stage maybe for you. So as part of our trip, I think we had 3 days in Positano, and they happened to fall on my husband's birthday. One of the days we had a planned day trip to Capri. Our tour guide had rented a private boat for us to go over to Capri for the day, and he had planned a really nice lunch, which I will get into in a second. But the night before this day trip, is probably the night that I drank the most on our whole honeymoon. It did not go great. We had met this other couple and they were from Chicago and they were so nice. They were a little bit older than us, but we just had so much fun chatting with them and we ended up going out to dinner with them. We had also had drinks earlier in the day that day. It was kind of a whole day thing. It was a beach day, it was a shopping day in Positano. We had stopped here and there. I had wine in our room. We had wine on the terrace before going out to dinner. And we stayed up. It was so late drinking and just hanging out with this other couple who, my new best friends. I was always making new best friends when I drank. And it was just so much fun. The next morning, I wanted to die. I knew that this day was special. It was my husband's birthday. He was turning 39. We had our day trip to Capri and we were having a lunch. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was a restaurant that was like right when you kind of got off the boat, when you got to Capri. And then we were going to be taking the gondola up to go shopping. If you've ever been to Capri, they have a gondola that brings you up and there's, a million stores and anything that you could possibly want to shop for is there. And then that was going to be it. Then we are going to take the boat back. And yeah, that was going to be our like really beautiful day. Well, I slept into the last possible moment that I could. Breakfast arrived in our hotel and I felt like such garbage, but I ate the whole thing. I wanted eggs and grease and bacon and all of the things. And so I ate this entire breakfast. I drank a ton of coffee. I drank a lot of water, but I could barely even like muster up the strength to go down to where we had to meet our tour guide. So I took a fast shower. I threw on this t-shirt dress. And so already I am not doing what I said I was going to do. So you can see this is like a common theme that I talk about a lot, how when we drink, it's like an endless string of broken promises that we make to ourselves. And so, the day before, I had wanted a beautiful day going to Capri, and I had picked out an outfit to wear that was going to be perfect for being on this boat and then walking around Capri all day. And I was going to take a shower and do my makeup and do my hair like a special day with my husband on his birthday. But no, I took a shower, I threw my hair up in a ponytail, and I threw on a t-shirt dress, and I felt like garbage. I was so mad at myself before we had even like left the hotel room. So we head down to the boat and what is waiting for us, but of course, champagne and fruit on the boat, which I immediately started to partake in because I was like, yay, this is going to help me feel better. Fast forward, we're on this boat and I've had a couple of glasses of champagne and I am getting sick in the Mediterranean. It's awful. I felt awful. And we get to this restaurant and our tour guide had surprised us. I didn't actually know that this part was happening. And it was the sweetest thing. We have this beautiful lunch, and then all of the staff of the restaurant and even a lot of the guests, they all have sparklers and like instruments, and they come out and they were singing to my husband. And it was so beautiful. And all I could think of was like, get me out of here. Like, this, I hate myself right now. This should have just been so much more fun than it was for me. And I just felt like I had let my husband down and I let myself down. And I really felt as if I had ruined his birthday because I just kind of wanted to like push through it. Like I couldn't wait to just like have another drink. And so now I was also in this other cycle where I was starting to feel human again, but still felt like garbage and just wanted to drink to like kind of make myself feel better. The rest of the day was just kind of an annoyed blur. I didn't feel like going shopping. I was stuck on this gondola. It was packed and it was like just really not fun at all. And I ended up going to bed really early that night. and waking up the next day, like still feeling really rough and apologizing to my husband. But this was the thing. It was like, how many times do I have to apologize to my husband because I drank too much? Like, this isn't the person that I wanted to be. And so there were other instances on our trip because a lot of it did include wine drinking and where I overdid it. And the next thing I knew, my husband and I were in like an argument and a fight. And he was saying things to me, and it was clear to me that I had blacked out a little because I didn't even know how we got there. Are you ever in a fight with your husband after you've been drinking and all of a sudden you're kind of like, oh my gosh, how did this even happen? Like, I don't even know. How did we get to this point where we're arguing like this? Like, I actually have no idea. And this used to happen to me quite frequently. And he would be talking and I would have no clue, didn't know what to say because I didn't know how we got there. This happened a handful of times. One other time we were at dinner and it was just the two of us. And all of a sudden he is saying things like giving me criticism. And I got incredibly defensive because I didn't even know how it started. I didn't know how the argument had started. And so I didn't even know what he was talking about. Complete lack of presence, first of all, blacking out during conversations during a time where my husband should have had 100% of my attention. This was my honeymoon, just a little glimpse into it. And so when did this take place? It would have been May of 2017. I'm sorry. We got married in 2016 and we didn't go on our honeymoon until 2017. We leave for Sicily to celebrate our 10th anniversary. And as I mentioned, I'm 5.5 years alcohol free. And this isn't a story about having willpower or being good. It's a story about what happens to a marriage and a woman's life when alcohol finally becomes irrelevant. Because there was this version of me, this wife who was mean to her husband sometimes and wasn't present. And after that honeymoon, the alcohol stayed in my life for another 3.5-ish years, and it grew the distance. Alcohol and my relationship with alcohol created more distance in those first few years of our marriage, and it didn't feel good. It wasn't what my husband deserved, and it wasn't what I deserved either. So what happens though is alcohol touches so many areas of our life that there's still a lot to unravel and unpack with your husband. Even though my husband didn't love the version of me who drank too much and got snarky with him and got defensive and got into fights, he also was like, well, wait, if you don't drink at all anymore, what are our lives going to look like? So it was like that for him too, like, because that is our culture. We are conditioned to believe that alcohol has to stay in our lives. So from my husband's point of view, he wanted, or maybe not wanted, but he saw a woman, me, who drank too much, was drinking alone a lot, and always drank more than she said she would. But he also was like, can't you moderate your drinking? Like, can't we go to a party with friends and you drink? And hey, maybe sometimes you overdo it, but like, whatever. Like, so that's also the mentality because we think we have to keep alcohol in our lives. My first few months after my last drink, where I was seeing all of the benefits of not drinking, like quickly start to compound. He said something like, what are our lives going to look like if you don't drink ever again? Or how long do you think you're going to be taking a break from drinking? Or do you think we'll ever do, XYZ again? Are you still going to want to go out and watch football on Sundays? And so what I said to him then, and so I'm kind of jumping ahead here and then we'll go back. But what I said to him then was, I don't know if I'm ever going to drink again. I don't know if I'm going to want to go camping with our friends, go out on Sundays and watch football. But what I know is that alcohol doesn't work, doesn't make me feel good, and I'm seeing benefits of not drinking. So I have to keep trying this. I have to keep seeing what life looks like without it. And then we'll go from there. And so this was helpful for him. And it also helped us be able to communicate better on what our plans were going to be. If I was going to want to go to a party with friends, but the communication just got a lot better in that moment. So now, as I am preparing for our trip, I am met with a completely different set of my expectations for the trip and what it's going to actually look like. Going into my honeymoon, I mean, the idea of drinking wine every day was very prominent. I was going to Italy. We were visiting vineyards while we were there. It's a whole different trip. Would I go to a vineyard now? If my husband was like, can we check out this winery? It looks really nice. I would say 1000% yes, I can go there. I don't need to drink wine to go to a vineyard. Are we going to be there all day? Like maybe the old version of me who drank? No. It's going to be a pop-in. Maybe it'll be an hour. Maybe we'll do a tour. I don't know. I don't even think we have that on the docket for this trip. But if it were, I would be okay with it. I don't need to drink or like feel like I have to have alcohol to make that situation better because I already know my honeymoon gave me enough proof that I don't want to drink when I'm on vacation. We have this high functioning trap that keeps us drinking. You know, I'm getting everything done. I'm showing up for work. I've earned this. So it's okay if I drink. And it's really obvious when we're on vacation because you work incredibly hard to afford the private boat, the 5-star hotel, and the beautiful dinners, only to spend the actual experience managing your intake or your recovery. Like that's pretty much what my whole honeymoon was. A lot of vacations that I took when I was still drinking. It's like we have this pattern of just negotiating how much can you drink at lunch so that you're fine for dinner, or I don't want to get too tired, or how many mimosas can I have at breakfast and like still be able to go on the tour later or go on the bike ride. We're going on a hike today, but we're having mimosas at breakfast. Like these actions don't match up with the person who goes on a hike. Like I'm thinking about my trip to Sicily. One of the things we have planned is to go to Mount Etna. Does a person who drinks mimosas in the morning have a good day at Mount Etna? I don't think so. The old version of me who drank, Mount Etna would have been the thing I couldn't wait to get through and get over with. I would be calculating like, when do we get to the drinking part of the day? This is this cost. You're not actually present for the luxury that you've earned. You're physically there, but your mind is occupied by the next drink or the mounting anxiety of that morning after. This was my life. This was how so many of our trips were. Always thinking, when do we get to the drinking part of this? And not enjoying like the Mount Etna. Or I remember the day that we went to Pompeii during our honeymoon. I was so incredibly hungover. And all I could think about while we were at Pompeii was like, when are we going to be sitting down for lunch or dinner to have some drinks? And that was not present. That was not spending quality time with my husband on our last day of our honeymoon and then getting to the hotel and going out to dinner. And the vibe wasn't there for a honeymoon because of my drinking. And, looking back, like our honeymoon was beautiful. I'm really sharing the awful parts of it with you right now, obviously. But when I think about how much better it could have been, when I think about the amount of money we spent on that honeymoon compared to the way I felt is not where I want to be. And so I want to talk more about this relationship toll that it plays. And this carried on for the next several years of our marriage. There's this silent tension that is happening. Like my honeymoon, there were a lot of amazing parts of it, but I wasn't quite there. And the way alcohol really just creates this like thin, persistent veil between you and the person that you love the most. When I look back on that part of my honeymoon and my marriage, it really makes me sad that I did that. Like I created that between my husband and I. Most women use alcohol on vacation because they don't know how to actually inhabit their own lives without this chemical off switch. We've been taught that, a glass of champagne or a glass of rosé is this reward for a big life. And I'm here to tell you that the real luxury is having a brain that doesn't require a substance to enjoy the beautiful views that you can afford because you work so hard. And this has just become so incredibly evident in my own life. Now, the first vacation that I went on, because of the pandemic, a long time period had gone by before we had gone on vacation. And we went on a ski trip. And it was the best vacation I had ever had with my husband, or really just in my adult life. Skiing every day, really being present, like playing games together, going on walks together, hanging out in the hot tubs, and just giving my husband 100% of my attention during that time. Even he said, the person who would ask me in my early sobriety, how are our lives going to change if you quit drinking forever? And even my husband was saying, this was the best trip that we've ever taken together. And I'm so excited and I feel so warm and comforted knowing that we're heading off on this trip for our 10th wedding anniversary. And he is going to get 100% of me. And there's just not a better feeling than that. And I've worked so hard these last 5 years, kind of subconsciously trying to make that up to him. And, don't get me wrong, we don't have this perfect marriage. Everybody has their things. But I can go to sleep at night knowing that I'm confident that I put him first. I don't say cruel things to him. I remember all of our conversations. There's not anything that goes unspoken between us. There's no room for resentment when you don't avoid things. And that is what has made my marriage stronger and closer and more intimate. And I know because I felt it too, that when you're married or when you're in a long-term relationship and alcohol has played a role in a lot of the things, if not everything that you do together, I know how scary it is to think about taking it away. I do, but I promise you, you just keep pulling it away a little bit more and a little bit more with every experience that you share with your partner, and you will start to collect the evidence that your marriage is getting closer and is better without it. It just is really foreign to you right now, just like it was to me back then. I just want you to try because you just haven't seen it yet. When I go on this trip, you know, there's also elements of it's going to be a completely different trip. I'm not thinking about when will we stop and have lunch and get a glass of wine or a drink of some sort. I might be spending a little bit too much time thinking about when do I get some sort of pistachio flavored thing, but I think I can still remain pretty present with my husband, even though my mind is probably going to be on gelato quite a bit. But, I would rather have my mind be on gelato and talk to my husband about that than be doing the mental math of how much I've had to drink, how much can I have right now so that I don't get too drunk, or in all of those scenarios that ultimately would just lead to a fight. I don't think I've ever gotten into a fight with my husband because I ate too much pistachio gelato. And that gives me a little warmth, I guess. I always offer you an assignment during the episodes. And so I do have a little assignment for you to implement. I want you to ask one question before the next experience that you have with your partner, whether it's your husband or a long-term partner, or maybe even a friend that you spend a lot of time with. But before the next time you go out to dinner or maybe a party or maybe a weekend away, I want you to say, if alcohol wasn't an option tonight, what would I actually need to feel connected and relaxed? Because that's what this is. Vacations are meant for you to relax and see something new, experience something different that you don't experience in the mundane, everyday life, and to come back rested and recharged, not further depleted and exhausted. End the days of saying, I need a vacation to recover from my vacation. So ask yourself, what do I actually need to feel connected and relaxed? Do you need a nap? Is there something that's been bothering you that you need to have a honest conversation about? Maybe it's something small like, why the hell haven't you emptied the dishwasher yet this week? I've done it every day. Maybe it's something like that, because when you avoid that conversation over and over again, you're building resentment. Or maybe it's something a little deeper that you want to talk to your husband about. What is it? Maybe you need to leave the social gathering an hour earlier. Maybe you need to say, hey, we're going to that fundraiser. Let's just do one lap after the dinner's over and then we're out. Like, what is that boundary that you need to set? And I want you to stop trying to fix the drinking and start actually looking at the needs that you're trying to drown out with the drinking. The drinking is just like the smoke of this. We need to look at the fire. What's happening in there? What's going on? And solve for that. Treat the symptom with something healthy and repeatable that's going to make you feel good, not the thing that's going to make you check out. Okay. I'm going to Sicily as a woman who is entirely certain of herself. I don't have to pack a security blanket bottle of wine in my suitcase. And I don't have to wonder if I will ruin a dinner out with my husband. This level of peace is not some fluke. This is the result of the specific identity work that I've done on myself and that I teach the women inside Feel Good AF. If you are finally ready to make this change for yourself, I want you to know that it's open for you. You're tired of success feeling hollow because you're always managing this drinking habit in the background. It's time to change the way you operate, and you can keep trying to white knuckle your way through the days or your vacations, or you can build this life where you simply do not want what you used to control. I promise that you can do it. And I know how to get you to the other side of it. I have space for 2 women to begin this work with me before the month ends, and I would love to welcome you in. So go ahead and send me an email, book a discovery call with me, send me a message on Instagram. We will get you set up, and this will be behind you. Okay, I cannot wait to see you and follow along on Instagram. I'll be showing a few little snapshots of my trip with my husband. No wine, no champagne, but a crapload of gelato. You can believe it. All right, I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast. If this episode landed for you, it would mean a lot if you left a review or take a quick screenshot of it and share it on social media. That's how this show reaches more women who are ready to stop living in the drinking loop and start leading themselves with confidence again. I'm on a mission to change the way high-achieving women think about alcohol, because you don't need more willpower or more rules around your drinking. You need real support, real tools, and the truth about what's actually possible for you. So keep showing up for yourself, keep telling the truth about what you want. And remember, the life you want isn't found in a glass or a bottle of wine. It's built in the decisions that you can stand behind, the ones that you feel really good about. My DMs are always open, and I can't wait to get to know you better. I will see you next week in the next episode.